How's it going, everyone? Venomous Stare here. Today I have something extraordinary. This is basically Terran versus Terran at the absolute highest level, and this is the way the matchup really should be played, and this is how the matchup looks when you take the two best Terrans and put them against each other. These are two top-tier Koreans, one of them, of course, a GSO winner, the other one, a player on KT Rolster who is very good. Spawning in the bottom right of Frozen Temple is TY, a player who used to be on KT Rolster, earned the nickname Baby because of his baby face and how early his pro gaming career started. And this guy was kind of heralded as the new Flash because they were both on KT. They were both really solid macro players that would wear their opponents down and constantly make good decisions and play with crisp macro. And in the top left we have Byun, who is favoring another gas. That is one variation we see early on. And Byun, I think, is the most interesting Terran there is to watch right now in StarCraft 2 out of everyone. And the reason that is his micro is just exceptional. There's this thing I like to call the Byun effect, where Byun seemingly can control his units in such an efficient way where whenever you look at a fight right before it happens, like initially, you can try to predict who's going to win. But if you bet against Byun, so often you can be embarrassed, and fights that seemingly Byun has no right to win, he wins. His Zerg matchup is one of my favorites to watch. He's the kind of player who is always dropping and harassing and being obnoxious. One of the most fun things about Byun is his micro. Not only is his micro very crisp and clean, but it's just exceptionally flashy. He really does things that other people not only don't do, but can't do. He has some of the best hot pickup micro I've ever seen. Sometimes he'll go into engagements with equal units and just win outright absurdly hard. And Byun picks off one SCV as TY builds a Hellion and takes an expansion. The builds are very similar here as Byun is also expanding. He's elected to make a reactor on his barracks. TY will probably do the same. He does. A little bit of action, marginal damage being taken, nothing really consequential happening. Both players have started their starports. As far as TvT goes, I would say Byun probably has the advantage because whenever you look at a mirror matchup, obviously you're using pretty much all the same units. As we see, Byun might try to swing in here for a little attack. He might think TY is all the way across the map, but TY is pretty close, and he reacts immediately. So Byun could get sandwiched if TY pulls his SCVs. This SCV building the starport is not going to die. The starport will finish on time, and Byun loses the majority of his army, and only 2 SCVs die. So Byun probably thought that TY had run across the map, and that's why he chose to run in there. He's building a tank and a medevac, so he'll be able to showcase his micro with the Tankivac, and he'll be able to probably defend quite a lot with the Tankivac. And he can take it across the map and be aggressive with it after. That's the beauty of the Tankivac. Notice how he's going Cyclone after. This is an interesting move. Cyclones are very good at dealing with medevacs. It looks as though Byun's going for a drop here. He's going to load the tank into the medevac. No Tankivac. Just the old school tank on the go type thing. Cyclone almost out as TY loses one Reaper. He spotted Byun's medevac, but it got away right at the last second, and suddenly the Cyclone is not in position. Byun's going to start to drop here. Oh, tank comes out for TY, and Byun's going to try to focus. Ooh, hot pick up there, but the Cyclone is focused onto the medevac, pretty much preventing Byun from microing, and Byun does one little hot pick up there, but Cyclones are exceptional against that one tank aggressive micro based harass because they just lock on and have a very long range. And the entire point of the hot pickup harass is you want your opponent to focus the tank, and you pick up your tank right when the focus fire is applied to it. So basically you bait your opponent into wasting shots and avoid the damage, but the Cyclone kind of snuffs that out. Byun's going to try to run across the map. He won't kill a Marine because he loses high ground advantage, and TY is taking a third. Notice the third timings here are almost identical. So many things about this game have been identical, and if you watch mirror matches at the very highest level, this is not uncommon. If the metagame is figured out and you're playing on very practiced maps like this, you'll see games like this a lot. Byun does have a reactor though, which is a big deal, because essentially in TvT you're never going to need a tech lab on your starport. Oh, big push here coming in for TY. He's going to kill the tank, and suddenly Byun is at a big tank disadvantage. And he wants this third to finish, obviously. He does not want to lose that Cyclone or this SCV. TY is going to pressure this third base, which is probably going to have to be cancelled, and it is. Suddenly TY, baby, jumping out to a 16 supply advantage. And having a reactor on your starport in TvT is very important, because unless you go for Banshees, you're really going to be using the Viking, the Medevac, and the Liberator primarily. So the reactor is basically like having two whole starports. And notice TY has Swapperooed, so he's going double starport production as well. He's adding on 2 more barracks, and he's starting double upgrades, at least the E-base for the double upgrades. Notice Byun has already started his 1-1, so a little bit of an advantage there. Maybe Byun can use his exceptional micro and a little bit of 1-1 timing to come back. But as it stands, he's playing defensive. He's sieged a couple tanks up on this cliff. And it's TvT and it's Byun, so anything can change at the drop of the hat. Suddenly he'll elect to be aggressive here. I like this move. He's bringing 4 Vikings as well. He needs to try to see what he can do to get back in the game, but TY is a very good defensive macro player. He's good at closing out leads, and Byun's going to try to do some damage here. TY picking up 1 tank, nice micro. Vikings get traded off, but Byun has the advantage there since he got first shot. Patrol micro from Byun, and this is what I'm talking about. Byun is just playing very crisp. He's at a huge unit disadvantage here, but he's still doing well. Picks up the tanks, falls back. If we go to units, Byun's doing pretty well. Even though he's down a base, he's not that far behind on workers. And TY, who was up about 20 supply when that started, is now up around 10 supply. So this is what it's like to see a truly top-of-the-line micro player, someone who can pick apart their opponent in situations where they have unit disadvantages in terms of numbers, and use unlikely situations to get back in the game. And Byun might snipe a Tankivac. He'll actually just settle for a Viking trade, and he's going to kill 2 for 2 here. And now he's going to try to move in and be aggressive, but he'll think better of it, as TY has a nice preemptive tank spread. But Vikings are interesting in TvT, because once you get a Viking advantage, it can be hard for your opponent to come back with Vikings, and suddenly whenever you lose your Vikings, it becomes nearly impossible to deal with things like this Tankivac pressure. And the way that TY is going to deal with this is counterattack. But suddenly, because of Byun's micro constantly taking little advantages, Byun's constantly taking these micro-based edges and transferring them into bigger leads. But TY, aka Baby, is going to push up into this third and try to see what he can do. Now keep in mind, a lot of Byun's supporting cast is across the map. And I don't know what the hell happened. I'm going to have to rewind. My bad. Okay, so here comes the Tankivacs. And watch this. Okay, so the Vikings trade 2 for 2. Here come the tanks harassing. Now watch income. Notice Byun has this third base going. Once he stops these SCVs mining, the third base income really plummets down to nothing, and therefore Byun starts to win. Okay, so he didn't lose these units like I thought. He just brought them back defensively. Okay, so we're back to where we were. Byun's trying to defend. He's trying to repair his third, and suddenly 2 tanks get dropped down right behind TY. and Baby has to pick up out of dodge. Byun pulls SCVs, and wow, beautiful little hold. They're almost even in supply now, as Byun came in from all angles. A flank so beautiful even a Zerg player could appreciate it. As TY starts to build this fourth up, this is an intelligent move. He's trying to go tit for tat with Byun, stay ahead of Byun. It's very hard to close out games in TvT versus Byun because he's so good at dropping and his micro is so crisp and he's so diligent with it that he's not the kind of player who you can get a lead on and just close out easily. He will fight you tooth and nail, and if you get a little bit sloppy with your defense, he can come back very easily. Bizarre Tankivac game being played here. Now it just looks bizarre to someone who doesn't watch a lot of TvT, but it is definitely normal for two players at a high level to be playing like this with the tanks, but it is kind of funny to watch when you consider how this matchup was played for so long. The siege tank at its core was changed when Legacy of the Void instituted the Tankivac. So now we see bizarre little TvT marine tank plays where the medevacs are kind of used almost like to drop big bombs. Like, you don't have to worry about sieging and unsieging, which was a primary mechanic of TvT back in the day. And suddenly Byun is in the main. He's continuing to do damage. Marines are about even, tanks are about even. Pretty much everything's about even except Byun has a couple Vikings. And if we go to income, they're about dead even. So these players really are playing at an exceptional level. This is like a great anime fight, really, when Goku and Frieza were facing off, and they were really at the top of their game, and they were both fighting at an exceptionally high level and very close to each other. That's kind of what we're seeing here in this game of StarCraft 2. One little difference here is the upgrades. TY is falling a bit behind, and this is very important in TvT, especially whenever Marines are involved because of how fast they shoot. Notice as soon as Byun flies into vision there, he doesn't screw up. He's going to stim in here and run forward with Tankivacs, take out a couple buildings and a couple Marines. Suddenly TY's right back in place to defend, and Byun's going to swing around and try to poke at the natural. Oh, 3 tanks dropped in range of the E-bays. If Baby loses these upgrades, it's game over because Byun already has +3 started. But Byun, I don't think he'll be able to get these, at least sieging up over here. But suddenly he's dropping over at the 4th too. Byun's multitasking is out of control. He's immediately loading up and jumping into the main of Baby. He's going to think better of it when he sees the Gym Rainers. He's also going to fly away with this Tankivac, and TY saves the game, saves his 2-2. I love to see that. Byun does have a 4th base, though. That is extremely important. He also has a 2nd factory, as we kind of pick and prod and dissect in great detail the very slight differences of these players. They both have 5 racks. They both have 1 starport. They're both double upgrading, obviously. Terran players, if you're looking to learn TvT, this is where you need to go. There is no one better at Terran versus Terran than these two guys. And I'm not just being ridiculous and gassing this up like some ludicrous 2013 WCS America round of 32 match. This is truly the best of the best. GSL, top tier, pro league, rip in peace, quality play here. TvT at the highest level, as we see Byun, woo, picks up and runs away, loses 1 Marine, and TY is going to stim and run in, but Byun's going to try to defend here. He has Tankivacs, so notice once you have about 5 Tankivacs, the amount of DPS you can just drop out at a moment's notice is insane. It will rip apart and eviscerate Marines. And the Marine player always has to be conscious because the tanks can do so much burst damage when they're dropped in this quantity. Byun's going to rainbow across, stim in here, drop the tanks in a brilliant spread position, and try to pressure the 3rd. The medevac is going to give Byun high ground vision, and suddenly mining is being prevented again. TY is doing what he can to stop the 4th, but this is a planetary fortress, so Byun has way more time than Baby does, and TY is forced to fly away with the command center and he's losing depots too. He's going to run in here is TY and snipe the 4th. Good for him. Lots of SCVs going down. Oh my goodness, they're dead even in SCVs. This game is so close and so good. But Byun is pressuring across the map. He has plenty of tanks. I would edge Byun right now because of the upgrades, quite honestly, as Byun is going to have 3-3 a bit quicker. And if we look at supply, TY's infrastructure is hurting a little bit more, although he's trying to take this 4th up over here. This is a great move. But really, that's just his 3rd base relocated. Wait, is it? I don't think so. No, okay, his main is missing, yeah. Derp, so Byun is going to load up more Tankivacs and trying to pressure forward. Notice TY has to defend this base pretty much to win. He's not mining from his main. Of course, Byun moved his main as well, so they're both on 3cc, but Byun is about to be mining significantly more efficiently. More Byun Marines going in here. They're going to try to trade with TY, who has tanks over here, but Byun has tomfoolery down here in the bottom left. He's multitasking very well. And suddenly he's pressuring at the top, but then he can drop into the main. Byun's going to siege onto the slow ground. All of TY's production is in peril, and suddenly TY is focused, and by focused I mean stuck between a rock and a hard place. He can't really defend properly because he has to move his tanks, but at the same time that would leave this top base vulnerable, and at the same time he's just getting pummeled in his main, losing so many barracks. He's unable to keep up because Byun can just proc and prod and attack in multiple locations, drop siege tanks, and TY is probably going to lose the space and lose the game. One last-ditch effort here. TY has a huge army, but Byun had the entrenched location. He killed the base. TY is not really mining over here, and Byun is continuing to aggress, and TY GG's. That was an insane TvT. Make sure you subscribe because you do not want to miss the subsequent games. I'm going to be casting pretty much a BlizzCon game, one video a day for a long time. So make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss any StarCraft 2. And after I finish this best of 5, I'm going to have non-TvT. So even though this is as good as it gets as far as TvT goes, if you still don't like TvT, other matchups will come.